So let's get started with the topic about the paint program. Now, before I talk about the paint program specifically, boy, I'm showing my age by saying program. I should be saying app. There are applications. And before we start discussing the Paint app, which comes free with Windows, I want to just tell you a little bit about the overview of using and viewing photographs on your Windows computer. Okay, so let me go to share screen. Let's start with photographs on Windows. We talked about the Windows File Explorer before, and the File Explorer is a it's the keystone that holds the whole Windows arch together of using Windows. And if I open File Explorer, you can see that there is a built-in, by default, a pictures folder that will hold all your pictures for you. And that's where you should put your pictures on Windows if you want them accessible through the File Explorer and so forth. If I click Pictures, the folder, I get all my other photos in folders. And the view I'm using to do this as a review, we've covered this before, that when you're working with photos on Windows, the best view that I like to use is the large icon view, which actually shows you the folder in a nice large icon and even shows you a glimpse of a photograph that's inside the folder. Okay. So that's what I use to deal with photos on pictures in the pictures folder in Windows. Okay. If you open up a picture, a photograph in here, let's see, I have some teaching photos in a folder here. And if I open up any of these photos by double clicking it, click, click, it opens not in the Paint program, it opens in the Windows Photo Viewer program. Okay, and there's things you can do with it here. I won't get into it now because I want to introduce you to the Paint app. But that, if you double click on a photo in Windows in your pictures folder, this is what will open in here. And you can do some things with it here, but we won't get into that at this time, maybe later. Okay. The Paint app comes free with Windows. Let me reduce this Windows File Explorer down to a minimum on the bar. The Paint app, this is what the app looks like. It's a little palette with a brush on it. And if I double click on it, well, if you don't have it on your icon on your screen, you can go to the Windows key, the Windows button here to open up the Windows menu. And you can go to your list of all your apps here, all, and you could look up, scrolling down to the Paint app right here. And if you don't have it as an icon on your desktop and you want it, you could just simply hold down your left mouse and drag it over to the desktop, and it will be on your desktop. Okay. Mine is already on my desktop. And to open the Paint program from your desktop, you just double click it, click, click. And this is what you get. Wow, looks pretty impressive. Let me make my window a little smaller here, so I can still see you on the right side of my screen. And this is the Paint program, or the Paint app. It says Paint right up here in the title bar. And it says on title because we haven't created anything yet. We haven't opened a file. We haven't done anything. So there's no title or name to whatever work of art that we're going to be using here in the Paint app. Okay. There's a whole mess of menu options. And there's no way we can get into all of them. The Paint app has evolved. over different editions of Windows. This is Windows 11 Paint app. Your Windows 10 Paint app will look similar, but will have probably a different organization to the menu. And there may be a couple things missing from Windows 10 that are in Windows 7, that are in Windows 11, such as Copilot, which I have not used. Okay. Basically on Windows Paint app, there are really just 2 or 3 things that I use the Paint app for, and I don't use it very often. One thing that you can use the Paint app for is to create from scratch your own works of art. Maybe you'd like to make a family logo, or you'd like to make, maybe draw a outline of a golf course, or any kind of artwork you can think of. The Paint app is not, I would not consider it an artist tool or an extensive creative basis for creating artwork, but you can do it. You have certain basic tools. You have a pencil, you have an eraser, you have a fill tool, and a copy color tool. You can do text. So we're going to try a couple of these things. I won't illustrate all of them, but I want to show you just basically that you can start with a plain canvas and you start creating your own work of art. This bar over here is the thickness bar for how thick you want your paintbrush or crayon to be, okay? And I'm using the pencil, and I can just draw all I want. And I can make the line thicker. And I can change the color of the line with my color palette up here. There are 2 primary color designation circles here. There's color 1 and color 2. And basically color 1 is going to be your primary drawing choice color. The one below that is the color 2. That would be your background color if you're filling things in and doing things like that. We probably won't get into too much of that. But to change your color, you click on the circle for color 1, and you can pick any color you want. And then when you draw, you will be drawing with that color. Again, you can change the thickness of the line. So you notice if you draw, it draws over another color. I believe there are layers here, which I don't know anything about, but you can have different layers, so you can change something on one layer of your painting or your creation and not change the other layers. Here's the brushes options. You can pick an airbrush option. Let me change to a little darker color here, so you can see the texture and a little bit thicker line. And you can see the aerosol spray. Here's a crayon. And let's do one more, a magic marker. Notice some of these you can actually see through the color to the color below, which is kind of interesting. Another thing to do with the Paint app is you can add text. This is very helpful, especially if you open up a photograph in the Paint app and you want to add text to your photograph. Okay, you will use text by clicking the text option tool in the menu, and you bring it down and you draw a box. And the box is going to hold your text. And when you release the mouse, The text insertion point is in the box, ready for you to type. You can pick any kind of text style or text font size, just like as if you were doing a document. And we click in here and we'll say this is text. Okay. And I believe if I change the background color, let me draw another text box. No, I thought the background color, that would be the fill color, I think. Let's do another text. This is, I could spell it'd be better, wouldn't it? Okay. Before you finish your text box or anything that you've drawn, you get a chance to move it to a different place in your drawing or even outside of your drawing. The white box area is your canvas. Okay. The older versions of Paint, you could not move a box like that. Once you selected where you wanted your box and put text in it, you couldn't move it after that. But this later versions, I think in Windows 10 as well, you can move the box before you finish dealing with it. Just get the double arrows on it and move it where you want. Okay. Maybe we should save our work because we've been playing around. We don't want to throw this beautiful artwork away. So we go to File, and you can always use Save As. You can pick the file type you want to use this picture to be saved as a PNG, JPEG. Most of us dealing with photographs is JPEG. JPEG is everything. But there's also different types, formats, if you will, of creating artwork. And I'm going to save this as a JPEG picture, and I'm going to pick the folder in which I want to save it. Say Save Pictures. Well, I have a teaching photos. There we go. That's the one I'm in now. And I can give it a name. It's no longer going to be untitled. I'm going to click in that area and we'll call and artwork. Okay, and it's going to save it as a JPEG, and I click Save, and it's now saved on Windows. So if the next day comes and I'm done, well, if I add something else here, let me go to a drawing. If I add something to this now and change it, and I try to X out, it says, hey, wait a minute, do you want to save your work? Because I have now made a change to it by adding some more artwork to it. And I'm going to say don't save because I already saved it, I think, on the first one. So it's gone. So let's bring it back. I open up the Paint program, the Paint app, click, and I go to File, and I click on Open, and I go to the folder I want, which in this case is Teaching Photos, and I can down, make this a little bigger, and find the one that I just saved, Temporary Artwork, click on it to highlight it, and click Open. And there it is back for me to edit. If I make any changes to it, I want to save it as a different name if I want to keep the previous drawing unchanged, okay? So that's how to use the paint program to create. And you can have a lot of fun with it if you're a creative person. But you don't have to do it, of course, but it's there for you. Are there any questions about exploring the Paint app to create a few silly things like this and to save it and get it back?
Yes, Jim. How
Yeah.
do I get the ruler around the canvas?
Yes, Dee, I think, oh, thank you, Dee. Okay, your question, I think, was about the ruler?
Yes.
Yes, the ruler always starts at 0, 0 for your canvas. And these measurements are in inches. And there's so many pixels per inch. So you can make this bigger or smaller by sliding the magnifying glass down here.
Okay.
All right. So you can make it bigger and bigger. In fact, you can make it so big that you can actually see the individual pixels that make up the photo. And you can actually change one pixel if you wish to be that detailed. We're not going to do that. We'll bring it back down. Notice that the ruler has also expanded or contracted when you do the magnification. Okay. So if you print, and let's say if we do that now, we try to print this beautiful artwork, file, print, print. This app is not supporting print preview. Well, that's okay. And let's try to print it. And we'll see what we get. You'd probably hear my printer chugging away here. Okay, I'll hold it up. And there it is. Now, the ruler says, since we're talking about rulers, that my canvas was from 0 to 7, just a little bit about 7 inches. So let me get a real ruler out here. And I think it is 7 inches.
I'm not sure if everybody can see what you're doing.
I know, I'm holding the ruler up to my artwork.
You might want to unshare for while you're showing that.
That's more than.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Of course. Let's see. Thank you, Huey. I just assumed everybody could see what I'm doing. Let's see. Well, it could be more trouble for me to find it and do that and get back to sharing again.
Should be at that menu at the top. If you move your mouse to the top, it may show up and it'll say stop share in red.
Oh yeah, stop share. There we go. Okay, now you can see me. Here's what came off my printer. And I'm holding a ruler up there. And you can see my fingers at 7 inches over here. And it printed on my color printer just fine. Nice and sharp. So let me get back to share again. Share. There we go. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
So the ruler, now you can change the ruler, I think, to other settings. here's rulers here, and I checked it. The keystroke is Control R if you like to use the keys instead of the mouse. And I have that checked along with the status bar, but you can remove the rulers. And I think there may be different settings for rulers, like not only inches, but centimeters or pixels, number of pixels, and so forth. Okay,
Hey, Jim, I have a really stupid question.
yeah, I don't believe it, but go ahead and ask your
You know, it's
wonderful
stupid.
question.
Everybody knows but me. Are you doing this on your phone or on your computer?
I'm doing this on my Windows computer.
Can
Your
you do
phone
it on your?
probably will not have the Paint app on it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
This is Windows, all Windows.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah,
Diane, I had a couple things just to share. I've used paint over the years, especially when I was teaching. And I know this is not probably for all adults, but if you have grandchildren or nieces and nephews, and I was a kindergarten teacher at one point in my life, but you can insert coloring book images and then paint them, or color them.
I didn't know that.
And then another thing you can do is insert shapes, and you may have mentioned that, but I didn't hear it. So just wanted to
Yeah.
mention those two things. It's just people think paint is worthless, but there's a lot of things you can do in it.
Yes, thank you for that comment. And yes, I'd like to show shapes. Thank you for reminding me. I'll use the
Uh-huh.
eraser tool here right now. And you can see that I'm erasing, and I can change the width of my eraser to erase more at a time. Okay. So let's say we want to insert some shapes. Well, there's shape menu here. You can click, you get all these shapes to choose from. Now, before I do that, let me illustrate at the same time the color. I'm going to pick a different color for color 1. We'll say red. And for color 2, I'll pick light green, lime color. Now, if I go to shapes and I draw, say, a rectangle, you can see that it is using the color 1 as the color making up the shape. If I pick a different shape, like an arrow, let's see, I can flip the shape. I can rotate the shape. I'm right-clicking the mouse to get this menu. And I think there was a fill. Here's the fill tool. And that's color 1 again. I'm losing my mouse right here.
Good place to show them how to undo something too.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And here I can fill that with pink. And I can fill this area with pink. And this area with pink. And if you undo something, which is very important, here's the undo arrow. Thank you, Huey. And a redo arrow. You can't redo something unless you undo it first. So you can undo, and that fill went away from here. And I can redo it, put the fill back in. Well, there's just so much. I don't want to dwell too much on all these menu options. Play with it, have fun with it, but I want to use the Paint app with an actual photo. Okay, so that's my next thing. So let's go with a new one. I will not save this one. And if I want to work with a photo in the Paint app, you open the Paint app first, and then you open the photo. So I would go to File, Open, and I would pick a photo, and I click on Open. And there's the photo. Now, once you have a photo in Paint, you can use all the Paint tools, all you want, to play with that photo. Now, the Paint app is not a photo editor app. In other words, I don't believe there are options. We look at edit, cut, copy, paste, that's the only edit options. View, ruler, status bar, so forth. I don't believe there's options to do things like color shading, contrast, brightness, those kinds of things, because it's not intended to be a photo editor. The only thing I've ever used the Paint app for with photos basically is to put text on them, which is kind of nice. I can go to the text option on the menu. I can pick a font, just something very basic, large font size, and I can draw the text box. And I can type the text. Oops, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong key. Let me try it again. Text box. No, undo. Try to hit the text. I'm drawing something weird there. There's the text box. And there's the text. Let's say this is okay. If I play with this a little bit, you can see you can manipulate the size of the text box. So long as it's dotted like that, you can move it, put it on the picture anywhere you want. Click off when you're done. If you've made a mistake, you can click the undo. But you've now added nice text to a photo. And I believe with the text box, you could use a fill-in text box so that this is just text right on the photo. You can make a box that is actually, say, yellow with black text in the box. And the yellow will overlay whatever photo image is there because you're putting the text box over the image.
Jim, which was the undo?
The undo is the little arrow up here that is pointing sort of to the left. That's undo. And if it's pointing to the right, that is the redo arrow. If you put your mouse on it, and I'll actually undo my text box here, I'll click undo once. And the text box goes away, and I can redo the text. Just out of curiosity, let's see if I can draw a text box off my canvas. I don't think you can. No. And if you try to go off your canvas and you type, and you click, it's off the canvas. So you can't re-highlight it. You have to undo it. No, can't do that. Undo. There, I removed it. I can redo it. But I can't highlight the text box and edit it again. Once you finish playing with your text box, you can undo it, but you can't go back and edit it like you could in Publisher or some other packages. But it's kind of neat. You could put in people's names on your photographs, dates, locations, so you can see it right on the photograph. And I think that's all I wanted to cover on the Paint app. But I'd like to open up for questions. We can experiment, ask me something I don't know, we can try something.
And Jim,
Yes,
can you change the color of that text and put it over on the clock?
let's try that. Let's do a text box. And for the inside of the text box, let me pick a color like light yellow. And then the text is going to be black. So I click the text box. Let's see if I can draw it. And I don't know or remember. Oh, here's the background fill. Let's see if that'll do it. There we go. The background fill is checked, and now I have a background of color 2 in the box. And now I can add my text, maybe the text color we want to be red. Okay, and because I haven't finished with the box yet, I can put my cursor on the box edge and get a double arrow. And that means I can move it and put it right over the photograph. And click, and now it's part of the photograph.
Jim, another thing you can do is with shapes, you can take an arrow and point to something on the picture.
Absolutely, let's try that. Let's go to shapes. We'll pick an arrow. Notice we have the different directions already there. Left arrow. We'll draw it, we get the box. We can put the, there we go, all 4. So we can move this and do a nice arrow pointing at the clock here. And I think we can still rotate that arrow.
Can you make it smaller?
Sure. You can just drag the box.
Oh, yeah.
What happened to
Any, any of the handles.
oh, there's the air inside. Okay.
Try grabbing one of the corner.
Yes, if you grab the corner,
You can do that, but you might, if you play around with it, sometimes you can then turn it a little bit. I'm not sure whether you can in Paint or not.
as far as I know in Paint, you only get 90 degree turns. You
Okay.
can't rotate it anywhere, any way you want. Let me look here. Flip, rotate.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes the center handle at the top will give you a circular arrow to rotate it a slight amount, not 90 degrees. But I don't think Paint does that. Okay, if you want to save your artwork, go through File, Save As, JPEG, and it'll save it as a regular JPEG photo. See what this is. Oh, a select. Yeah, you can select things. Oops, sorry.
Now you could put something like that if in an article you're writing or
Oh,
anything
yeah.
like that.
Once you've created whatever it is you want, a drawing, a picture, you can draw on the picture, add text to the picture. Once you do that and you save it,
Mhm.
as a JPEG, for example, that becomes a regular photograph. You can put that photo anywhere you want that you would put any other photo.
Like if you're writing a article, but you want to show some examples of some stuff, yeah, and if you're
Correct.
showing that, okay.
Correct, yes.
But you have to
Uh,
save it first in photo.
Well, once you create this, you have to save your work, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
And,
if you don't
and then
save
you
it,
could drag it into a article. Okay.
And I might suggest might think about doing a save as and giving a slight different name, so
yes,
you can
Mhm.
always go back to the original.
Hmm.
save as JPEG. You get this, and then you give it a different name.
Just put a number.
Hmm.
And then when you click save, it's going to save it in pictures. But I like to confirm, well, right up here, it's saving it in pictures, teaching, photos, screenshots. So when I click save, that's where it will save it. So if I go to File, New, and it created a new blank canvas right away because it remembered that I saved my work. So it isn't going to ask me, do you want to save it? Because I already did. It knows I did. If I made a change and I went to new, it would say, wait a minute, do you want to save what you've changed? Okay. And I can go to File, Open. Move this over so I can see it and scroll down. Let's see, it'd be under the B's, wouldn't it? There it is, big, B for Big Ben. Click on it and open, and there it is. I can now change it and play with it. Pretty
Hmm.
cool. For
Yeah,
something that
that,
came free with Windows, this is really a neat little tool. It's
hmm.
not
Now, how
perfect.
did you get into that one in the first place? You just open Paint shop?
Well, I think you came in a little late, so I'll show
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
again. I went to File,
Uh-huh,
Open,
uh-huh.
and you go to the folder that you want,
Okay.
and you find the picture that you want, and you click on Open. And there it is. Now, why is this so different and why is it so big? Well, this is a picture I took. It's got a lot of pixels in the picture. So the
Okay.
higher the resolution,
Mhm.
there's quite a bit that has to happen for a photo with lots and lots of pixels making up the photo, a multi-mega photo. For it to be displayed in the Paint app.
Oh.
Okay. Remember, we can zoom in on these things
Yeah, yeah.
and zoom in almost, you can actually see an individual pixel. So the more pixels you have in your photo, the more it's going to take up space in the Paint app,
Mm.
but you can use the magnifier to reduce it down to a size that you want to work with.
Jim,
Where is the magnifier?
Down in the bottom right of the uh, window screen down here,
Yes.
there's a zoom out, zoom in,
Mhm.
and it's a slide. You slide it left or right.
Mhm.
Jim, how do you get to have the ruler on top side to stay? My ruler doesn't come up. I'm still stuck there.
Okay, your ruler is a view, I think.
View?
View, rulers, it should be checked. If I click on it, the rulers go away. So it's view, click on rulers.
Oh, okay. Then click on it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, especially ones I can't answer? I am not a paint expert. I have seen on YouTube
So
an
each
artist that has used Paint, the Paint app, and has created an artwork that is totally realistic. I have no idea how they got so talented to be able to do that. Anything I draw with paint is sloppy and looks terrible. But if you have the time and the knowledge, you can use paint to create realistic works of art. Dee, did you have a question?
No, the only one more thing, because I missed the first part. Get into where you're getting the paint, it's not, you don't go in Word, you go into pictures. You open up pictures, not Word, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. This
What,
is the
what
Paint
do you
app,
open
not
in the
Word.
beginning? Just
I'm
file?
sorry, Dee, you're over talking me. I'm gonna be quiet. You ask your question again, okay? I'm sorry.
I think she
Dee?
wants to know how you open Paint.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get out of Paint altogether. We'll click X. And if you have Paint as an icon on your desktop, you double click the icon. If you don't have it on your desktop, you go to the Windows Start button in the lower left. You click that once, and then you click to all to get a list of all your apps on your Windows computer. When you click all, you get a list. You go down that list to the P's, and there's the Paint program or Paint app.
Oh,
You can click on it right there and it will open.
okay, got it.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
There is much to learn about Paint if you're into it. There's many tools, not as much as a photo editor would have, but there are plenty of tools. Okay, let's on to talk about other things about using photos or working with photos on your Windows computer. Okay, so we're going to get out of the Paint app. All right. I mentioned to you before, there's two other things that you should be aware of as a Windows user of working with photos. There's the Windows Photo Viewer app. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate that because it's not really an app that you can have an icon on your desktop. I think you can, but anyway, the way most people use it, the way I use it is to go to Windows File Explorer and go to your pictures and find a picture and double click it. Double clicking the mouse, what does that do? If you're with inside the Windows File Explorer app and you have files, and you have files of photos, and you have files of documents, and you have files of this and files of that. If you double click your left mouse on a file, Windows will use a program, an app, to try to open the file for you. And that is called the default app for that file type. Remember we went through file types? Okay. And Windows, the regular Windows computer, it comes with an app called Windows Photo Viewer, which is the default app when you double click on a photo. What's a photo? A JPEG is a photo. It's a file type for a photo. So this is a JPEG photo. If I double click it, click, it opens the photo in, whoops, I the wrong one there. There it is. Move this over a little bit. Okay. It opens the photo in the Windows Photo Viewer app. Now, this app has many tools to help you play with the photo, and I won't go into them because the class was about the Paint app, not about Windows Photo Viewer. But you can print a photo from here. There's a bunch of tools. You can resize the image. There's a bunch of settings for using the tool. You can rotate the photo. You can erase or delete the photo. I think there's a bunch of tools here. You can edit with the designer, Microsoft Designer, which I think comes free. How do I get out of that now? Go back maybe? Yeah, back arrow. There's a whole mess of tools here with the Windows Photo Viewer. To my knowledge, you can't add text to the photo. Does anybody know if you could add text to the photo using Windows Photo Viewer? I do not. I don't use it because I use Google Photos to store and work with my photos. But that's the Windows Photo Viewer app. Write that down in your notes, Windows Photo Viewer app. Why do you need to write that down? Well, first of all, it doesn't tell you the Windows Photo Viewer app in the title bar. There's no title bar for the window, which I think is really stupid. You come up with Windows, all other windows have titles. This should have a title as well. It does not. But why did I have you write that down? Because there's another app that Windows provides, is the Windows Photos app, not Photo Viewer, but the Microsoft Photos app. And if I double click that, I get a different app. See if I can move this over. Oop, wrong one. There. This is a different app. Trying to expand it. Here we go. This is similar to what I'm used to in Google Photos. This is an app that lets you look at all your photos. In fact, I think I have my Google Photos linked to this some way. Yes, I do. I don't know how that happened because I never use it. But here it is. It is called the Windows. It's called the Microsoft Photos app. Okay, it's different than the Windows Photo app. It's Microsoft Photos app. And this app will work with OneDrive. If you are a Windows user that is using OneDrive, this app works well with OneDrive. And you can keep your photos on OneDrive on the iCloud. You can view, import, organize, and edit your photos here. You can make like an album of pictures and do a lot of things with that. But I have not used this. I'm ignorant. Does anybody attending online right now, have you used this Microsoft Photos app? Anybody? Well, it exists. Gallery, favorites, iCloud photos. So you can store your works with iCloud. You can make photos through favorites. And back to iCloud photos and this PC, good thing. So if you want to play with photos in Windows, this is another tool, a pretty powerful tool to work with and play with photos. So we covered three things today. We covered the Microsoft Windows Paint app, the Paint app. You can create your own works of art on it. You can add text to a photo on that and save text on a photo. The second thing I mentioned was the Windows Photo Viewer app. That if you double click on a photo in your File Explorer, in other words, a photo that's stored on your computer, on your Windows computer, if you double click it, it will open in the Windows Photo Viewer app. The third thing we talked about is the Microsoft Photos, which is this one here, Microsoft Photos. It's an app for dealing with photos that Microsoft provides, and it's free. You don't pay anything for it. The icon, I'll show you the icon, get out of this. The icon is this blue, it looks like a blue mountain with a moon above it. That's the Microsoft Photos app tool. Okay, now, one last thing. If you're really into photos, and some people are, they like working with a different tool than what Microsoft or Windows provides. One of those tools is, for example, Adobe Photoshop. Does anybody use another photo tool like Adobe Photoshop or any other tool?
Yes,
What do you use, James?
Photoshop Elements.
Photoshop Elements, thank you. Okay. When you work with photos on Windows, remember that if you double click a photo on Windows, it opens in the Windows Photo Viewer app because that is the default app that is used by Windows to view photos. If you use Adobe Photoshop or what Elements that James uses, you can make that app the default app for working with photos. So when you double click a photo in Windows, it will open in the app that you want, like Adobe Photoshop. Okay. Another example of that real quick as we wind up is word processing. If you bought a Windows computer, it did not have a word processor part of it unless it was prior to Windows 11. It had Microsoft, oh, what was it again? Huey, help me, the text, the free
WordPad and Notepad.
WordPad, yes, it came with WordPad, which was a default text processing app that came with Windows. So if you double clicked a text file and you did not have Word, it would open in WordPad by default because that was the default program associated with text files. It would try to open it in WordPad anyway. But if you buy Word, well, you pay money for Word. It's really much better than WordPad. There's no reason to use WordPad anymore because you bought Word. It's much more powerful. So you want to make Word the default app to open your text files. And most people do. If you have Word, if you install Word on your computer, it will probably assert itself to be the default app to use on Windows when you're working with text files. It's the same thing with a photo editor. You can make that photo editor app be the default for working with photos.
Yeah, just
Okay, are there any
recently,
questions of any kind?
just recently, Microsoft has eliminated WordPad as an option. It's no longer available.
Yes, I'm grumpy about that, but that's true. So what do people do, Huey, if they don't have Word and they want to open a text file? What happens?
The free Google Docs
Google Docs, yeah. Okay,
or some of the other, there are other free programs out there.
yeah.
Or you can use Word online for free.
Oh, I didn't know that. You can use Word Online for free.
Yeah, you go to office.com.
Okay.
You have to have a
Interesting.
Microsoft account, which you should have if you have Windows on your computer anyway.
Okay, thank you. Good tip. Include
Hey,
that in
Huey.
the in the
Um,
in the
I,
viewer, yeah. Okay, we're
Diane,
gonna
I have a
wind it up.
question.
I'm going to, does somebody else have a question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was Diane.
Okay,
If you double click
Now.
now on a document, what Huey does it default to? Notepad?
Where that tongue be?
Where it belongs. In my mouth.
okay, thank you for muting there. Yes, Diane, your question was, if you double click on a document, what will it open in Windows?
Yes, because if you didn't have Word, it defaulted to WordPad, but we don't have WordPad anymore. So I was just curious. I'm not at my computer. So
I
does it
honestly don't
default
know.
to Notepad?
I think Huey mentioned maybe Notepad. I don't know.
Well, it depends.
Okay.
It may not open to anything. It may open to a screen that'll give you choices, open with,
Yes.
Oh,
or
yeah, right.
if something else has taken over that spot as your default, it will open in that. So it will vary from computer to computer.
Okay, thank you, Huey. We need to end up, and I just want to mention to watch your emails for next classes coming up. And I think if I have my calendar here, we're done with April's classes. In May, we have 2 classes scheduled for May. May 13th is going to be an overview of all the free, most popular Google applications. And there are many of them, and some are very, very helpful for everybody. So if you don't have a Google account, you should have one. Most of you probably do. But we're going to explore the different free Google apps that are available to all Google users. And then on the 27th of May, we're going to talk about spreadsheets. And by that, we could talk about either Excel, Microsoft Excel, or Google Sheets, which is free from Google and allows you to do spreadsheets. Now, why is that important? Well, every Windows user should be aware of what a spreadsheet is. You don't have to be an expert with it. I use it for personal finances. It comes in very handy, but I never use anything more complicated than add, subtract, and average. There are so much more you can do with spreadsheets. It's infinitely, almost infinitely mathematical and accounting and all kinds of stuff built into it. But you don't have to know all that to enjoy using a spreadsheet to help you with your finances. So based on that, let's watch your emails coming. And I thank you all very, very much for attending. And we'll see you next time. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jim. That was a great class.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
And we'll end it for everybody. So long.